What is up, and welcome back to the channel. We are your Colorado real estate family.
Yeah, so today we are going to be doing something a little different. A lot of our clients have been moving into Colorado and very interested in Fort Collins, which also leads them to be interested in Loveland. So today we're going to talk about the cost comparison between the two cities.
All right, let's go.
Alright, if you're new to our channel, Chelsea and Pete here, and if you're interested in moving to Colorado, Denver, or any of the surrounding cities, do yourself a favor, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. We put out a couple videos a week.
Yeah, guys, like always, we like to be your boots on the ground experts, because if you're planning on moving into the state, we like to give you all that information that you need to know. Also, licensed real estate agent here, helping you out with all your real estate needs. We are helping you out on a constant basis, and we love it. So go ahead and give that phone number a call right below right there. When you call that number, you're going to get Chelsea and Chelsea only, and that way we help you out with all your real estate needs in the state of Colorado. All right, cool. Let's go ahead and get so this is the first time we did a video like this. Usually when we do a cost of living, we do it on a singular city. This time we're going to be comparing two cities. We've received a lot of phone calls from you guys lately about, okay, you know what? Yeah, I have interest in Fort Collins, but tell me a little bit about Loveland, right? And so I think we posted a few videos that sparked some interest in regards to Loveland. So we're going to compare the two. What does it look like in regards to the cost of living in either one of them? If this is your first time watching one of our cost of living videos, what we like to do is base it off of a point system where 100 is your national average. So here's your baseline right there. If it's higher than that, so if it's more than 100, it's more expensive. If it's lower than 100, then it's cheaper than your national average. So super simple. We like to take it off of, I think it's called bestplaces.com or something, some website like that, just to make it as easy as possible. So first one we're going to cover is, I guess, the overall cost of Loveland compared to Fort Collins.
Okay, so Fort Collins is going to be 116, so above national average, whereas Loveland is going to be almost 113, so 112.6. So that is a 3.5% decrease in Loveland versus Fort Collins. So this is kind of one of the reasons it's been very popular. So, you know, we talk about this all the time. Fort Collins is like constantly making the best of the best of this, the best of the best of that. And so it's hitting a lot of people's radar when moving into Colorado. Well, a lot of our clients are saying, well, I don't really necessarily need to be in the college town, or I don't really need to be like in the city of Fort Collins necessarily. And I'm trying to get more bang for my buck. Well, this shows right here, overall, it's still about 3.5% less in Loveland than it would be in Fort Collins. So.
Yeah, and so I mean, I think, just like I had mentioned, we've been covering Loveland quite a bit recently, you know, really kind of exposing you guys to as much as possible, because there was this stigma that Loveland is kind of old and just not trendy whatsoever, and that can be further from the truth. They've been developing that like crazy, and so that's why we really want to compare these two, because these are the two cities that, honestly, we've been getting a lot of calls over, more so than even Denver. You know, everyone's like, hey, you know, tell me a little bit about this Fort Collins, Loveland area. So, all right, cool. What's the next number that we're going to compare?
Okay, so I think we're going to go into grocery, which I talk about this a lot, about how grocery doesn't really differ very much, but when you're comparing two cities, this was a perfect example. So what was groceries?
So groceries, so if you're looking at, okay, let's look at Fort Collins, a 101.7. So, I mean, really not that much over national average. And then like on Loveland, you're looking at 99.7. So,
but it's below.
It is below.
One's above and one's below. It's not that big of a difference.
Well, grocery's hard, and we always talk about this. Like, grocery is like, okay, I mean, unless there's some special, like, metro tax district that the grocery store's in, or there's something crazy, you got a local food store where the prices are hyperinflated, for the most part, it sticks around this national average, you know? You don't look at it's not really much higher or much lower. So, I mean, groceries kind of, it's the easy one, right? We can throw the number out there. It's easy. It's like, all right, here you go, groceries. You're going to be paying about the same as where you're paying wherever you live right now. So, it's an easy one that we put out first. The big one that we're really going to cover right now, which is kind of my specialty, is housing. And so this is a little bit different, because usually when we cover housing, we talk about your rents too. We're not incorporating into this because we're comparing Fort Collins and Loveland. We're talking about housing as a homeowner. On the point system for Fort Collins, you're looking at a 168.6, so definitely a lot higher than the national average. And Loveland, you're looking at a 151.2. I'm going to break it even deeper, because I get a little bit more specific on my end, since I am a professional licensed real estate agent. So I get those numbers that, you know, these sites probably don't get as much as I would. They probably take it more from like a Zillow aspect. So let's kind of break it down into your housing prices, your median housing prices. And I also break it into single family as compared to multifamily. So Fort Collins, your median sales price of a single family house so what are we in right now? We're in July. So I'm basing this off of June of 2022. Actually, no, this was probably May, because our stats, they usually go back a month. We just broke into July. So this is probably May stats right here. You look at a single family median sales price of $630,000. What is the multifamily in Fort Collins? You're looking at a median sales price of $421,000. Okay, cool. We got those two numbers out there for Fort Collins. Now, what are we looking at for Loveland? Loveland single family median sales price as of May of 2022 of $529,000. Wow. So I mean, that's a lot cheaper. This
is like $100,000.
Yeah, this is why we're really wanting to expose you guys to this stuff, because I mean, look at that. If you're like, you know what, I don't really want to go that high in purchasing a single family house, maybe check out Loveland. You know, you're only like 20 minutes away, so something really good to expose you to. Well, we're looking at multifamily, and this one's not as different as you'd think. $418,000 median sales price. So is that $3,000?
Yeah.
So it's crazy how your single family is so much lower in Loveland, but then your multifamily really isn't that much. And I think it's because both of these cities didn't have much multifamily, and so the multifamily that you're probably gonna be purchasing in either one of these cities is gonna be newer. With that newer, you got that newer sales price.
Yeah, and honestly, what we're seeing a lot too between the two cities, and this is why Loveland is kind of growing the way that it is that they're starting to close in Loveland to Fort Collins. Like, so when I went to school up in Fort Collins, I lived in Loveland, and so I used to drive from Loveland to Fort Collins, and it was so obvious that you were leaving Loveland and going into Fort Collins. You still feel that right now. We suspect that that is going to fill in. The same thing with Berthoud to Loveland. So we're starting to see all these cities kind of come together, and they're going to feel, I feel like you're not going to actually know when you're crossing over the line, you know, as you can right now. So the good thing about that is, obviously, when you feel like less out there, you're going to start seeing prices increase. So we do suspect to have some good equity in there when you are purchasing. So it's a good time right now, because Loveland still feels like it's separated from Fort Collins, but it is starting to catch the radar quick. Yeah,
guys. So we, I'd probably say it's probably about 4 years ago. There's a futurist that we had come into my I used to own a real estate brokerage back prior to where I am at right now, and he came in and kind of talked to us a little bit how pretty soon Denver and Fort Collins, so you got these two large cities, there's not going to be a gap. Like right now, if you drive up there, you do have some farmland and stuff that's in between the two, but probably in the next 10, 15 years, there's not going to be that gap anymore. So Denver, driving all the way up to Fort Collins, is going to be 100% built out, which is insane to think of, because us growing up here wasn't like that at all.
Fort Collins felt so far.
Oh, it was so, yeah. Even when we're at now, Thornton felt so far.
Yeah.
I remember
Thornton felt
graduating high school, I was like, I got to go up to 120th. God, that's so far.
It was like in the boonies. We're like, it's in the boonies. Now it's like the midpoint and like the local access to all the different like surrounding cities, you know? So
so just with all this growth in Colorado, just expect that. And that's why we always constantly talk about this northern Denver metro area, because there's so much potential for equity growth, like when we're talking about Frederick, kind of that Carbon Valley area and all that. And so it's like Loveland, you know what, it's not quite Fort Collins, it's almost there, lower price point, expected to all keep going up.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's go into utilities. So utilities, this one's we're just going to kind of breeze through here, because utilities is a 91.3 for Fort Collins and a 91.9 for Loveland. How it's a little different Loveland, I don't know, but it is literally barely different. So just suspect that you're not going to have any utility increases from one city to the next. You're pretty constant there. So if you're choosing between the two, not something you really need to think about.
Yeah, it's good to know that, you know, either one that you choose, you're not going to be paying much more or less in either one of the cities. So it's great to know. Utilities is almost like grocery, where it's an easy give, but it's also good to know, you guys. It's good to know that if you're moving somewhere like this, based on the national average, say you live somewhere maybe on the East Coast and that utility price is a lot more for utilities, as in, and we're going to be less, you can kind of figure that into your costs of moving into Colorado. So something really good to know. All right, cool. So transportation, and this one I'm going to dig a little bit deeper. Let's just throw the quick numbers out there real quick. So Fort Collins, you're at an 87.4, whereas Loveland is a 94.7. So Loveland's actually more expensive for your cost of transportation. Here's where I couldn't really find any specifics as to why it would be more, but I'm going to just kind of throw a little thing out there that I personally think why it might be, is Fort Collins' public transit system is a lot more vast than Loveland's is. Loveland's, so they have, it's something that's called COLT, so it's the City of Loveland Transport, or Transportation, whatever, and then Fort Collins you have Transport. Transport is just, they have so much more lines inside of Fort Collins, kind of getting you here, there, and everywhere else, where Loveland's isn't as expansive as your Fort Collins public transit. That's the only reason I could think of why it would be like that. But outside of that, I mean, insurance and everything should be pretty similar for Collins compared to Loveland.
But still below national average in both, which is awesome. Like Colorado is still hitting below the mark in a lot of different areas, which I don't think some of the other cities that are, are as hot in the market right now are comparing to. Like, I think our real estate market is the only thing that really drive us.
Yeah.
Above the line.
Yeah. That first number, that overall number that we kind of told you about, that is heavily driven by the real estate.
Yeah.
It's a desirable place to live. A lot of people are moving there instead of wanting to live in the Denver metro area, and so that's why that number is so high. But outside of that, a lot of these other expenses that we're talking about are going to be a lot lower.
I want to bring something up right now because we're currently working with a client, which I think is a really good question.
Yep.
And they were talking to us about recently, hey, when we move there, do you feel like your job compensation is equivalent to your guys's, market changes and the cost of living? So I was like, this is a really good question. Yeah, the answer is yes.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, this is a horrible comparison, but one of our friends lives in Nebraska, and they obviously what they take home is so much lower, but also their cost of living is way lower. So a lot of people move here for jobs in Colorado, and so we have very good high-paying jobs. We have a lot of options for jobs. So the answer is yes. When you're looking at kind of this cost comparison, moving into Colorado, what is it going to take to live here and pay for all of these bills? The answer is yes. You are going to be able to get a decently paying job that is equivalent or directly relation to your cost of living. So.
Well, and I think also we did an interview video in Denver. What was that? Probably about a couple months back, month and a half back. Yeah. We actually had a gal who moved here from, I believe it was New Orleans, and she said that how when she first got here, she's like, "Holy crap, Colorado's expensive," and then she picked up a great job that compensated her enough to where she's like, "Okay, all right, I'm getting paid a lot more now. It makes sense why it's so much more expensive here in regards to living here." So something good to really know is, I mean, that's great that you brought that up too, because if you're coming from, say, some countryside city or something like that where cost of living is a lot less, and then we throw those prices out there, and we don't want to shatter your dreams, right?
Yes.
Just expect the fact that you're going to come out here, as long as your job, it should be compensated comparable to what the prices are here in Colorado.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Okay, so let's get into health, which is my passion. So health in Fort Collins is an 87.5. Health in Loveland is 87.5. So why? Because, and this is actually a really good question too. We've had another client of ours that we just met in Fort Collins ask about, they're retiring up here and they want to know if they have access to good health care. The good thing about Fort Collins is even though you're really far away from Denver, the city of Denver, Fort Collins is large enough that you actually have two large healthcare systems within Fort Collins, and they're actually right on the south edge of Fort Collins, kind of towards the south end of it. And so Loveland has equal access to that. It's very, very close for both cities. So yes, it's comparable in pricing. Yes, you have access to it, and you don't just have one option, which a lot of smaller towns do, or smaller cities. You actually have two, and a lot of them are huge systems, so they branch out into doctors' offices, so on and so forth. So lots of access.
Just to simplify that real quick, are you saying that they essentially, Loveland and Fort Collins are sharing the same hospital systems, and that's why that number is
very comparable? Yeah, and there a lot of them are centrally located, so between the two is where those systems are, and then a lot of their surrounding offices are going to branch out from there in kind of a radius. And so yes, it's number one, it's way below national average at 87.5, which is awesome, and that's because we have a lot of options of healthcare here, and so we have to be very comparable in pricing. Competitive in pricing. And so, but also you have a lot of different options which you don't typically have in a smaller town feel. So,
and just so you guys know, the biggest reason that we always have Chelsea cover health is if you're new to our videos or you really don't know too much about us, is her background is as a nurse and a nurse case manager. She also owns another company in case management, and so health, I couldn't tell you anything outside of the fact of there's a hospital there and there and there. She knows all about the systems and stuff, so that's why I really like her to dive into the health side of things, because that's obviously her expertise.
Absolutely. And a lot of our retirees are really awesome about preparing for that, and so some of the retirees that are moving up here are always asking about that, which I absolutely love. I think it's such a great idea to pre-plan for your life and how to have access to healthcare, and I think it's wonderful. So
all right, cool. So this is the last one. It's your miscellaneous, so we're talking about your restaurants, we're talking about eating out, your boutiques.
If you haven't seen our channel, every single time we do cost of living, Peter loves that word. I'm going to come up with some kind of thing to do when that happens.
Like a rebuttal to it?
Or a little thing that flashes on that's a really obnoxious,
a signature sign.
He's I'm
I can just imagine a deep voice boutique.
Oh my gosh. Also, for all of you people who have been following us, if you haven't noticed, Peter does not have any glasses on because Peter got eye surgery, and so we haven't recorded for a minute. We actually pre-recorded to make sure that he can have plenty of time to recover. But
we still haven't. I don't know if any of you have had like PRK. I couldn't get LASIK. I had to get PRK, and God, the recovery has been horrible. I still these lights shining at me, and it's a little sensitive. But at least you don't have to see the lights reflecting off my glasses anymore, right?
If he starts staring off, it's because he can't see anymore. But anyways, so all of you guys have been following along. His glasses are gone. It's so weird seeing him without it, and then I have dark hair, so we're just switching it up. We're getting crazy over here.
There you go. Trying to switch it up.
Let's go into the fun stuff. So miscellaneous.
All right, so miscellaneous. So miscellaneous for Fort Collins, you're looking at a 103.5, and Loveland, you're looking at a 104. Really?
I know why.
Fort Collins is cheaper?
Well, no, I don't know why it's cheaper, but I do know why it's above national average, and that's because Fort Collins and Loveland have some of the cutest little local shops, and they're all about support local. So I just recently, we were doing the interview for Fort Collins up in the cute little, right next to the water, what is it?
It was like Commons. I think it's something Commons.
Yeah, but it's where we always take the kids up to, it's like little water thing.
Yeah.
And there are so many cute shops. So if you don't want to spend money at these really cute little shops, but they're pretty affordable, but if you don't want to spend money at these cute little shops, don't go up there to Old Town in Loveland or Old Town Fort Collins, because they have the cutest local shops, which
wait, what's that local shop called?
I don't know. You're going to ask me. Oh, I just bought the cutest dress there, too.
she didn't catch on.
Okay, so anyways.
That's a boutique.
Anyways, it's a little bit more expensive than you would like going to any of your corporate stores, but it's so wonderful to support local. And you get they were like changing out different sizes and everything for me in the dressing room. I was like, this is service here. Anyway.
Well, and the reason, like I said, Loveland and Fort Collins are so similar in regards to those point systems is they both have very similar boutique style shops in each of their little downtowns. So.
Oh my gosh, and Loveland's downtown. Hey, stick around if you are like interested in this whole Loveland Fort Collins thing. Elena, who is our partner up here in the north, we're actually going to be going through some of the fun things about Loveland and stuff. So you're going to want to stick around because we're going to be posting a video here in the next couple weeks or so. So make sure that you go check that out.
All right, cool guys. Well, I think that's pretty much it. We went over the cost of living. This is the first time we compared two cities. Usually we compare just your national average to that city. So glad that we could kind of bring this to you, and hopefully it was valuable and brought you some information that you were really looking for.
Yeah, and if there's any other topics that you want us to cover, any other cities that you want us to compare, please let us know because we do these videos for you.
All right, guys. We're going to put that phone number in below one more time. One more time right there. And until next time, we love you. Bye. Mainly because we've recently received a lot of phone calls from you recently, whatever. So first thing we're going to start out with is... Why is that so weird?
What?
Oh, overall. Okay.
So the bird thing.
Okay.
So we're going to do a cost comparison of the both.
All right. Thumbs up, subscribe.
Oh. And the notification bell. We put out a couple videos a week. Or hit that subscribe button down below.